You should have had about 5 minutes to write down the review and reflect on page 109. You should also have done the review problem on page 109. We'll also need 2 graphs today in our notes. We'll have 1 graph on page 111 and 1 graph on page 112. So we'll get started on page 110. So this is L19, Piecewise Functions. A piecewise function is defined by separate pieces and the piece we use is decided by the x value. We'll do 2 examples on page 110, and then 2 examples on page 111, and 1 example on page 112. So 5 examples altogether. So directly underneath that, let's do example 1. Here's an example of a piecewise function. This one has 3 pieces. And along with those 3 pieces, it also tells us when to use that piece. So the way we read this is that we have a function, and this function is equal to 2x plus 1 if the x value is less than 1. Or this function is equal to negative 2 if the x value is between negative 1 and 1. Or it's equal to x minus 3 if the x value is greater than 1. So the x value, like we said, decides which piece we use. So let's do part A. Part A says I want to find f of negative 1. So the first thing I have to do is decide which piece I'm going to use. So I look at this and I say, is this negative 1 fit in this top one where it says x is less than negative 1? Well, the answer is no, because it's not less than negative 1. So I look at the next one and it says, I do this if x is less than or equal to negative 1. If x is greater than or equal to negative 1, and it is. So that means I'm going to use the middle piece. This middle piece doesn't have an x in it, so it's just negative 2. Let's look at another one. We'll do f of negative 3. So in this case, x is negative 3. Well, negative 3 is smaller than negative 1, so that fits in the top row. So we're going to use this top one, and I'm going to put negative 3 in place of x. So I get negative 5 as my answer. Let's do another. We'll do f of 1. So we have to figure out where 1 is. And in this case, because of this equal to, x is less than or equal to 1, we want to use this middle one. And again, that means it's just equal to negative 2. There's no x value, so there's no place to plug in anything. So we'll do f of 0. 0 again is between negative 1 and 1, So that still fits in this orange piece, the middle piece. So that's going to be -2 also. And one more on this example, part E, we'll do f of 5. Now 5 is bigger than 1, so that's this bottom one. So that means we need to use the bottom expression. So I'll put 5 in place of x minus 3, and I get 2 as my value. You should be able to fit example 2 still on that same page underneath example 1. We'll have a new expression. So this one, it only has 2 options, 2 pieces. And the top piece says that I'm going to use this top piece if I have x less than or equal to 3. And I'm going to use the bottom piece if x is greater than 3. So we'll do four parts to this one. We'll start with f of 0. So 0, all we have to ask ourselves is it less than or equal to 3 or greater than 3? I need to start with this side first. Well, it's less than or equal to 3, so I'm going to use the top one, because that's where this fits. And the top one doesn't have an x, so it's just 3. Let's do f of 2. Again, we need to ask ourselves, is it less than or equal to 3 or greater than 3? It's less than or equal to 3, so that means I use this piece. There's no x there, so we just get 3 as our answer. Let's try f of 3. Again, we have to ask ourselves, is it less than or equal to 3 or greater than 3? Well, it's equal to 3, so that means we use this top piece. So it's just going to be equal to 3. And then we'll try f of 5. So again, we have to see, is it less than or equal to 3 or greater than 3? Well, this time it's greater than 3, so I'm going to use the bottom expression. And that means that I have to put 5 in place of x and figure out what that's equal to. Remember that this number inside here is an x value, so I'm always sticking it in place of x if there's an x, but like in this situation there's no x, so I can't put it in place of x. It just is always equal to 3. We'll try one more of this type before we change types. So let's switch to turn the page to page 111, and we'll have example 3 here at the top of page 111. And this will have 3 parts. The top one will be if x is less than 2. The next one will be if x is greater than or equal to 2 but less than 4. And the bottom one will be x is greater than or equal to 4. We're going to do 6 pieces on this. Let me just write them on here, and then I'd like you to pause the video and try doing these yourself before finishing this video. So there's the 6 pieces. Take a minute to write them down and look through them and see if you can find your answers before starting the video again. So we can see in this top one, -2 is less than 2. So we're going to make this, use the top one, which is just -1. 0 is also less than 2. So this is just equal to -1. 2, though, is equal to, it goes in the second one, x is equal to 2. So we'll put that in place of x, and we get 6 is our answer. 3 also falls in this middle one because it's between 2 and 4. So I'll put 3 in place of x, and I get 7. 4 falls down here because of the equal to 4 piece. So I'm going to put 4 in place of x. Be careful with that negative sign because it ends up being negative 4 plus 1, which gives me negative 3. And then 6 also falls at the bottom one because it's greater than 4. But again, be careful with the negative sign. So we get negative 6 plus 1, which is negative 5. I'm going to stop this video for the last 2 examples and do a second video.